What is up everyone, Ethan here from the Pixel Era Productions, and welcome to the next installment of the ongoing series on my channel, where we look specifically at how powerful each of Tamriel's 9 divines really is. In this second episode, we will delve into the rich, complicated, conflicting, and highly controversial lore of Ysmir, hero god of mankind, often better known as Talos. It would of course be foolish to discover Talos' power without first looking at how he originated. As I'm sure you all well know, even the existence of Talos is contested. It is said that Talos ascended from manhood into godhood just prior to his death because of his heroic deeds in life. As a mortal, he was known to the people of Nirn as Tiber Septim, who conquered all of Tamriel to form the Third Tamrielic Empire. Tiber Septim was also a known dragonborn. Again, little is known about the divine's history, or how his ascension to godhood happened, or even if it did happen. One thing we do know for sure is that Talos worship is very common among men, and often hated by elves. To understand this, we need to yet again delve back into the mysteries of Mundus' creation story. Of course, Talos himself did not take part in the creation, but the hate almost all elves harbor for him did. I'm not going to go too in-depth about the creation as we already have in the last video. So, when the Aedra helped Lorkhan create Mundus, most religious sects believed that Lorkhan tricked them into giving up some of their divine power to aid in his master project's creation. Some of these Aedra, including the architect of the plan, Magnus, fled the scene. Others stayed to see the creation through. Still others decided to fully surrender their divine power and become the Elnal-Fae. The elves of Tamriel, Altmer in particular, believe that they are direct descendants of these Elnal-Fae. This provides a little insight into why most of them are stuck-up bastards. If you believed you were descended from gods, your ego tends to be pretty high. Anyway, because of this, the elves, again Altmer in particular, believe that if it is even possible for a mortal to ascend to godhood, it should be an elf, not a human. And of course, Tiber Septim was a human, so essentially they're acting like jealous 2-year-olds. But that's mostly my opinion. The fact is, most high elves believe that they will one day be allowed to reassume their true form as gods. The fact that a human could have done so before them well and truly pisses them off, for lack of a better phrase. This is where the infamous White Gold Concordat comes into play. One of its main terms was that the worship of Talos be strictly forbidden, and as we have seen, that's because of the belief that he isn't a god at all. However, there is evidence that he is in fact a divine, and in order to prove that he has any real power, we first need to prove that he actually exists. A note for you fellow lore nerds out there is another version of Talos' birth that has to do with Ysmir Wolfhearth, the Underkingm. I chose to admit this part because, as far as I know, there is only one source of lore that claims this version of events to be true, and for a few other reasons, I don't really think it's viable. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here and want to find out more, there are a few links in the description to help you do some research. If you're interested enough, leave a comment and maybe I'll make a separate video. Anyway, there are multiple arguments for and against Talos' existence. One of the most obvious bits of evidence, and perhaps one of the most convincing, is that when you pray to a shrine of Talos, you actually get a blessing. This can happen with both the standard blessing in Skyrim and the blessing of Talos in the Knights of the Nine DLC in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. But I'm sure a few of you need to see something a little more in-depth to be convinced. In the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, there is a quest called Blood of the Divines. If you've played the Oblivion storyline, you will know that the hero of Kvatch is on a quest to defeat the mythic Dawn cult and Mehrunes Dagon. In this quest, Martin Septim has deciphered another part of the Mysterium Xarxes, and he says to fulfill the mission, he needs the blood of a god. Now this may seem like a high order from old Sean Bean Martin Septim, but the hero of Kvatch, with the help of former Blades member Joffrey, finds the armor worn by Tiber Septim, complete with bloodstains. The blood from this bit of armor actually works and the questline progresses. If Talos was not a divine, this certainly wouldn't have worked and the entirety of Tamriel would likely still be in the Oblivion Crisis. Additionally, according to the book Arche the God, which can be reviewed in the last lore video, this is not the first time a mortal has turned into a divine. Hopefully these points managed to convince you, and if they didn't, all I can say is that you must be a Thalmor Justiciar. So now that we've effectively proven that Talos is indeed a divine, we can finally take a look into how powerful he actually is. Talos is the hero god of mankind, lord of war and governance. As we know from simply playing the Elder Scrolls games, war is nearly always a major component in the life on Tamriel. Being given power over war is certainly one of the most powerful positions a divine could have. He is also the patron of heroes such as Ulfric Stormcloak and the Last Dragonborn, as well as many other major players throughout Tamrielic history. These points are all well and good, but I doubt that any of you will find them very convincing, so I'd like to bring it home with a fascinating idea based once again on the lore of the creation story. As we saw in the last video, most sources suggest that the Aedra were tricked by Lorkhan into giving up fragments of their power to aid in the creation of Mundus. As we've seen in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, it is within the power of the Daedric princes to physically materialize on Nirn. The only thing preventing them is a powerful magical barrier. Regular Daedra, not princes, have been known to materialize on Nirn, and they are often summoned from Oblivion by more skilled conjurers. However, in the last video we determined that this power the divines gave up was enough to prevent them from actually materializing on Nirn. As far as I know, there has never been an instance of one of the 9 divines actually appearing on Nirn. The only thing to my knowledge that comes close is Martin Septim's transformation into the avatar of Akatosh. However, as the name suggests, this was merely an avatar, not Akatosh himself. So, we agree that the original divines are prevented from actually physically presenting themselves to mortals on the plane of Mundus. Now carefully consider this point, for this may prove that Talos is in fact the most powerful divine of all the 9. There were originally 8 divines, or possibly 7 if you consider Arcae's history, although we'll get more into that later. But for the purposes of this video, let's assume there were originally 8 divines who gave up their power to create Nirn. If Talos later ascended to godhood, that would mean he didn't actually assist in the creation of Nirn. In turn, this suggests that Talos still has 100% of his divine power, theoretically giving him the ability to physically present himself on the plane of Mundus should he so choose. So this idea is sure to cause a lot of controversy, especially amongst you Thalmor Aldmeri Dominion supporters, so I would love to hear your opinions in the comments below. Again, your discussions are key to the success of this series. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and comment. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Ethan from the Pixel Era Productions, and I will see you in another video.